Welcome to Scorched Earth and a general reading for the sign of Virgo, Sun, Moon or Ascendant. For Gemini season or June 2026, whatever your timing paradigm is, that's down to you. I'm here for it either way. I hope you're well. I'm using the 777 Tarot for you today. And I have to say, I've done the meditation that I always do for all of the signs before I start their reading. And yours was really, really intense. Virgo, really intense. Made me feel a little bit sick, actually. So I'm already curious. Let's put it that way. Anyway, before we begin, if the reading resonates with you and you would like to go a little bit deeper, there will be an extended that you can access at the end. Link is in the description box below. The link for Selfie will take you to just the extended for this video. But if you would like to see more of the extended content that I make on a regular basis, you might consider coming over to Circle, which is my, the Order of the Phoenix, which is my private community on the Circle platform. There you get extended content for all of the signs for each month. There's also the extended, the weekly energy readings that I do every week. Those run between 45 to 60 minutes long, depending on how intense the week is. And you've also got the opportunity of participating in the Deccan Walk, which is proving to be life-changing for people already. We're only into the 7th of 36 Decans, and wow. What an extraordinary thing that is. If you join at the higher tier, then you can come participate in the live classes that we run over there every month and get access to the recordings of all the previous classes that we've done. So if that sounds like it might be of interest to you, you know what to do with those links. I put a couple of classes actually down. What's the final link in the description box? So if you want to have a look, if you've always wanted to study tarot with me but not got the resources or time to come do that over on Circle, check those out because that might be of interest to you too. Anywho, let's flip this around and let's actually explain what we're doing here today, Virgo. We're going to start with the most important question that we can ask ourselves in 2026, which is simply, where are you right now? It feels very intense wherever you are. So we'll pull some cards to look at that. And then we will move on to, inspired in fact by the Deccan Walk, what aspect of our thinking or our worldview or our belief system, belief structures is now ripe for revision. That's really strong, that one this month. And finally, we will close out with, the second most important question that you can ask yourself in 2026, which is, what is the next step? Not what am I going to do in a year? What am I going to do in 5 years? Like literally, where is the next place that I put my foot down? So I hope that that's okay with you. This is what I have. Yeah. And then in the extended, we'll just explore whatever's come up here. So let's have a look and see what's going on with Virgo, please. Where is Virgo right now? Ace of Wands reversed. Two sideways cards. We've got the Four of Pentacles and the Page of Swords. And what else? How about the King of... Yeah. King of Wands, who looks just like my son. Look at that. Big hairy beast that he is. He's a Leo as well. Anywho. Right. Let's have a little look at these right here. I think the intensity was probably well felt by me because this feels somewhat jumbled, chaotic and disordered, which are three words that we don't ever want to associate with Virgo. Right, these are things that Virgo does not want to experience. And yet it seems to fit in so seamlessly with something that I've noticed about the energies of the moment. Obviously there are lots of other things going on. We just had Uranus move into Gemini, and Pluto is retrograde in Aquarius. There are things going on everywhere, but I have noticed this really intriguing resurgence of nodal energy, which is quite unusual in the nodal cycles, in so much as I recognize where there is a pull or a push, depending on whether it's south node or north node, on immediate ingress. Right, we've definitely got that vibe shift that happens, and And then somewhere around the middle, there's usually a kind of peak experience of, balancing with the south node and being drawn towards the north node. But then quite often the work is done, particularly if the eclipses have completed, which they have. The next set of eclipses that we have are going to be in, well, there's going to be one in, oh no, they haven't completed. Hang on a second, that's very interesting. So the next eclipse that we will have will be in Leo, but then the corresponding lunar eclipse actually happens in Pisces later that month. And then I do believe we actually have another eclipse in Virgo next year, if I remember rightly. I'm quite happy to be corrected by any astrologers in the comments if you wish to, but I think I remember that being the case, because there is no lunar eclipse for Leo. There's 2 solar eclipses, but then we've got these really late out of cycle eclipses in Pisces and Virgo. Anyhow, what I have noticed about this moment is, quite uncharacteristically, we seem to have had a surge in specifically Virgo South Node energy. It's kind of like it's pushing harder than usual on the balancing and asking us to release, let go of some stuff, put it in the right place in our head, work out with discernment what needs to be carried forward, what needs to be let go. And to have an Ace of Wands in reverse with a King of Wands on his side, and then these 2 cards here battling, it feels a little like. There's an energy of being stuck, but whilst also infused with a great deal of energy for movement to try and go in a different direction. And the only balancing force perhaps, is this 2 of Pentacles, which is the shadow card at the bottom of the deck. And the question that always comes to mind when I see this card is, are we coping, are we surviving, or are we thriving? Like, what is it that we're doing right now? And so when we ask the question, where are you right now? It's like chaotic, disordered, I don't know which way to go, I don't know what to do. Maybe we feel like opportunities have been missed. That's kind of how I'm feeling with this Ace of Wands here. Or we feel like all of our inspiration is kind of drying up a little bit. The Ace of Wands represents the capability for changed behaviour, taking ourselves off in a new direction. But it also represents that kind of creative force. And Virgos are very creative. I know a lot of Virgos, and they're all really, really creative. A lot of artists amongst them. And so then the sticking point becomes these 2 cards in the middle. The 4 of Pentacles anchoring us to what has been thus far. And the Page of Swords allowing us to kind of open up our vista a little bit, right? What is the information that we're missing? The Page of Swords would help us find it. But while these 2 cards are on their side, they feel relatively elusive. It's like we can't really put our finger on either of them. And instead, we've got this feeling of either missed opportunities or a kind of flatlining in the energy. And the King of Wands at the same time is going, well, we need to do something. The fuck are we going to do? Oh, it's a bit early in the reading for an F-bomb. Anyway, let's have a little look at this Ace of Wands. Why is this here for Virgo, please? 2 of Swords. It feels completely occluded. That really, really strong. And so there is probably a corresponding dip in energy levels that is going with that. I talked about... It feels like the energy is either is at one extreme or another with you, Virgo. It's either that you're completely fucking flatlining and you can barely, summon the energy to get out of bed, or it's like there's all of this energy in you and it's manifesting as anxiety because I don't know where to put it. I don't know where it goes. I'm feeling the change, but it feels like it's kind of skirting past me rather than something I'm actively participating in, almost to the point that it is eluding me, or the whole thing is occluded. Let's have a look at this King of Wands. Why is he please? Why is he please? Why is he here please? Right, 7 of Cups is in reverse, but so is the 10 of Pentacles, which is a Virgo card. And what's that here? We've got the 9 of Wands. Generally speaking, I interpret the 7 of Cups as a moment of clarity, where we have illusion and to some extent confusion when we've got this in the upright like this, when it shows up reversed, it's like, oh, no, I get it. But that is absolutely not what I'm feeling from you right here. So it feels like with the moment of certainty, the only one that you really have at this point, feels like it's the awareness of what is not progressing. It's the certainty of the uncertainty. It's the certainty of the lack of clarity. And a feeling like things are getting a little bit out of control, which is also very interesting. Because I say this because the Nine of Wands represents the management, the maintenance of whatever suit it represents, right? So in this case, wands, and that then is about the things that we do. The extent to which we control our actions, the extent to which we have any kind of control over our experiences. Now, there's other ways to interpret this card here, right? It's moon in Sagittarius, and we've got the moon right at the top there, right? And we've got this ladder towards a kind of internal illumination. But when it shows up like this, is very much in accordance with the Ace of Wands in reverse and the King of Wands on its side, like there. And it's like, yeah, the illumination is, I have no fucking idea what I'm doing, and that which is mine to control doesn't appear to be showing up anywhere. And I feel like I'm trying to control things, but maybe I'm controlling the wrong things. And it would be a really useful thing right now to have a little bit more information about what the fuck it is I'm supposed to be doing right now. But then we have the Two of Swords that's saying, no, you don't get to see in this space. You don't get that extra bit of information that would illuminate things. You have to work it out for yourself. But then we've got this Virgo card here of the Ten of Pentacles, which also is in the reverse, and where in the upright speaks to stability and security. In the reverse, it feels like a breakdown of those things. Now, what's interesting is that because it's 10, it represents an end anyway. So we've got a dynamic of shift that goes on whenever we've got a card that numbers 10 showing up. But where this is a healthy progression from one state to another, so we move seamlessly, one would hope, from the Ten of Pentacles to the Ace of Pentacles. When we've got it showing up like that, it just feels like everything's falling down and we don't know where it's going. The presentation of the Ace of Wands, the Ace of Pentacles, beg your pardon, being something that we cannot at this point put our finger on, and yet we're trying to manage, we're trying to cope, yet we don't know if we're hanging on to the right thing or whether we're trying to jettison that which would lead to our security. Like, the whole thing feels unpleasant. Yeah, it actually does, because the intensity from the meditation when I did your reading was just it was a bit much, actually, and I've got a fairly good tolerance for intense feelings. Right? But I was just like in that moment. So we've named the conditions, we know where you are right now, and I'm going to posit a guess and say that this clarity is probably the last bit of clarity, the last kind of clarity that you actually wanted, because it feels like you're hyperfixating on what you're not doing and what you've not achieved and what you're not holding up, versus what is the next step forward. Do you see what I mean? So let's have a look at this Four of Pentacles and Page of Swords. We've got Two of Cups, so it's it's definitely centering this around you and people or persons, which is to say relationships. Yeah. So we've got the Wheel of Fortune and the Tower here. Now, one thing that I feel like I need to point out is that you are doing a lot, you are stressed, you are burdened. I am quite surprised actually that the card out there wasn't the Ten of Wands, but the presence of the Tower is a certain unexpected event, which would probably lead you to being burdened and overwhelmed and all sorts of things, because you feel like you're trying to keep lots of plates spinning up in the air. Now, just in the same way that 10 would function as an end, a completion, whether it's the 10 of Pentacles or the 10 of Wands doesn't really matter, right? What we've got is a state of completion occurring. The Tower has a kind of function that is very, very similar. Because it is a sudden, unexpected, abrupt shift in direction. And, you know, to have it show up with the Wheel of Fortune is interesting because it says this is all part of the story. And the resurgence in the Virgo themes that I've seen going on in the nodal energy seem to be... to what extent are you repeating patterns here, Virgo? Because the Four of Pentacles, it's known colloquially as the miser card, represents us kind of doubling down on a not wanting things to change, not wanting things to move, right? That makes perfect sense because Pentacles, yeah, they stack in a kind of predictable fashion, and they're slow to accrue, they're slow to build with. We like that, right? It's a good solid foundation for things in the future, particularly as they pertain to stability and security. But the reason why this is called a miser card is, at least in the Waite Smith, you've got a guy who's got his feet on either pentacle and he's holding one like this here, and there's one in his head. And it's that sense of not wanting energy to flow. So it becomes a state of self-restriction somehow. But the Page of Swords on its side seems to suggest that this is not something that you have consciously recognized. Or maybe you have recognized it and you've doubled down on wanting to not see it. And then the Towers come in with the Wheel of Fortune saying, "No, Virgo, you're not bobbing and weaving away from this one. Like, this one needs to be faced head on." Two of Cups is a card of intimacy. It isn't just about your boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, you know, whatever. It's a card of two people in a shared space. Now, you know, a flat interpretation of this could be a house that you shared with, you know, that you share with a partner has now got some sort of problem that requires you to fix it, perhaps, right? And maybe repairs to a boiler that you were trying to put off for the longest time are now getting to a point where they're, you know, it's unavoidable that they need to be repaired. That's one way of looking at it. It's a very basic and very mechanistic kind of way of reading the cards. But this feels more like an unexpected lurch into crisis, which is asking you to evolve through the crisis. Here's a thing for you, Virgo. I'm going to quote someone to you. It's actually Gordon White. What if the way that you're responding to the crisis is the crisis? And the reason that I say this is because of the presence of the Four of Pentacles, and because of that need to try and stabilize things that I'm seeing here in these cards, and yet seems to be so elusive. The Tower is considered by a lot of people to be a negative card. I refuse to see it that way. For me, it is the expression of a loving and benevolent God, that they would give enough of a fuck to step in and help set us free with something, right? That's my position on the Tower. It's why I say it's uniformly good, because it is. Because what we've got then is, you know, a higher expression of some sort of intelligence that understands our karmic path better than we do and is assisting us along the way. Particularly where the energy of the Four of Pentacles is showing up, because it is a kind of stuck energy. Now you add into that the energy of the Wheel of Fortune, then this isn't just a little bit supportive, it's actually a lot supportive. It doesn't mean that it's going to be easy or that you would enjoy it, but it's certainly something that is taking you on a path that is one your soul wanted to walk. But the problem is the resistance in the face of it and trying to do things the way that you have always done them. Because the opportunities that are offered by the Ace of Wands, they never go away, because potential doesn't switch on and off. And yet we see that energy occluded right there. Now, it's of the nature of swords, so there's something about this that we are not recognizing, something that we actually can't see. I think for me, the Two of Swords is quite often a card that speaks of that not knowing what we don't know, right? That the brain screens it off. We can't see the potential, or we are only tangentially aware, perhaps like the corona of the sun round here, that there's something that should be in the middle of that's not being seen right now. It feels confusing, and like I said, the only bit of it feels like the only bit of clarity that you've got is that the way that you're responding is not giving you the outcome that you want, which is really, really difficult, and explains why it's all so intense. So let's have a look and see why this Tower and why this Wheel of Fortune are showing up, because there's something ripe for revision. And again, if the way that you are responding to the crisis is the crisis, then this is the perfect mechanism by which the universe can shape your thinking into something that is of a higher order. Let's put it that way. So we've got the Six of Wands. Two cards out together. We've got the King of Pentacles and we've got the Moon. And we also have the Seven of Wands with the Four of Swords at the bottom of the deck. So again, to repeat the question, what if the way that you're responding to the crisis is the crisis? The Four of Swords would be then a suggestion that we need to take a step back and exercise a degree of objectivity over the issue of the moment, because the Four of Swords is a step back, it's a break, it's withdrawing from the sharp end of the issue and giving ourselves an opportunity to integrate whatever information, whatever circumstance we find ourselves dealing with right now. But it's also a card of rest and meditation, Virgo. And so there's a question here that arises quite naturally in my mind of, when the shit hits the fan, like, where does your recognition of your own needs go? Because I think it completely vanishes from the equation. It's understandable that crises require swift, decisive action, right? But I feel like you've been trying to do the swift, decisive action and you've found yourself even more muddled than you were before. And I often think that when the universe sends us lessons, this has certainly been my experience many, many times in the past, we always think that we know what the issue is. So it's the crisis, right? I've got to deal with the crisis. And then sometimes you can throw everything that you have at it and no further forwards. And it's only later on in retrospect that you recognise that it was about shaping the way that you respond to it. It's almost like the lesson is always sideways of what you think it is. So this Six of Wands, this idea of how something is successfully completed, because I think Virgo does like to complete things. You like to tick the things off the list for sure. But there's this feeling of also being seen to be very capable and very productive. Oh, hang on, did we not talk about this last month? Like the difference between being perceived as efficient and capable and all that sort of thing versus recognizing that, I don't know, I can't even remember what I said, but certainly the way that I'm looking at this here is just recognizing that sometimes it takes courage to recognize that you need help, or maybe you need to ask for help, and you don't have to do it all yourself. And even sometimes down to the fact that like the way that we have done things doesn't necessarily guarantee in success in future. The Six of Wands is bugging me a little bit here, Virgo, because it feels like you want to have everything in hand. You want to be the, you want to be the fixer. And Virgos are very good at that. You're very good at being the fixers. You're incredibly resourceful and really smart. Like that mercurial thinking that you've got will see you solve most issues. But again, the issue is not the issue. It's about what happens to you in the moment of crisis, in the moment of issue. And so again, it takes a lot of bravery to ask for help. It takes a lot of bravery to actually be able to say, do you know what, I haven't got my shit together nearly as much as I would like to. Can I have a hand, please? But there's something else that's sort of bubbling below here. We've got the King of Pentacles there. He's your king. He's very capable. He's very responsible. But I do feel like there's a lot of responsibility that you're taking on here, and maybe some of it isn't necessarily all yours, or if it is all yours, there are fairly extraordinary circumstances that are bringing about exactly the kind of conditions where asking for help would be an entirely fucking reasonable thing to do. Because the moon obscures things. We don't see things clearly by the light of the moon. We're kind of projecting our visual map onto the landscape around us, but it's going to be by definition kind of missing detail, which is the thing that will drive you absolutely scatty, Virgo, right? But at the same time, there's a kind of big picture quality that we're being asked to take in this moment. Rather than it being about the detail, it's like, can you take care of yourself while all of this is happening? We're seeing this globe down here, and I'm looking at the big picture. I'm looking at the moon here. I'm looking at the big picture of this environment. And I'm drawn back to the Six of Wands again, where it's like, it's not even like you can't always win, Virgo. That's not the message here. The message is what is the message? I just tell you, I've got real anxiety in here. Tell me about the Six of Wands. Well, emotional support is not for the likes of you, really. Right, this is the problem, Virgo. Look at this, it's the same fucking cards. Page of Swords, Four of Pentacles. Right? These two cards here, underneath these ones, where the stuck energy is. But what is the stuck energy? It's the Three of Cups. It's the emotional support network that for some reason you think that you don't need, where everybody else does. It's like, I can see where this this South Node resurgence is playing out here for you. You know, projecting the outward appearance of extreme capability, which is fine. I mean, I actually have no issue with that at all. But sometimes circumstances overwhelm us, and particularly when, you know, there's big picture movements going on in our lives that we can't quite get a handle on. it feels like things are kind of slipping out of our control, and so then there seems to be some sort of self-flagellation that's going on, that's going, no, 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 because I have to turn up like the Six of Wands. I can't lean into the Three of Cups. And maybe for some of you there is an absence of people around, but I don't think so. Not with that Four of Pentacles there, because it's almost like you're trying to hold that to be true. Now, when it comes to the Tower, remember what I said about it being an expression of a loving and benevolent God, right? If the lesson that you are supposed to be learning is that sometimes circumstance overwhelms us all, and there are points where it is legitimate, reasonable, and even necessary to ask for assistance so that we may rest, so that we can show up fully, then any attempt to resist that is going to keep getting met with the Tower over and over again until we get the message. Tell me about this King of Pentacles. The Ten of Cups is at the bottom of the deck, and one of the things that I've always said about the Ten of Cups is that although it represents the epitome of a relationship that is interdependent, right, in the healthiest possible way, we have to realise that that involves everybody showing up in a Nine of Cups state, which is to say, taking care of their own shit, but also allowing themselves to avail themselves of what, you know, whatever kind of mutual support is going on at any given point. You see how all these cups are effectively supporting each other, right? And there's something really beautiful that's crafted in the middle. And the problem here feels to me, Virgo, like you think the rules don't apply to you. Like that's fine for the functioning of a community and you'll happily participate in that support structure when it comes to supporting other people. But when it comes time for you to let other people help you, or even to ask for help, you're like, no, I have to do it myself. It's really important. I've got this. And in all likelihood, to some extent, maybe you do, but it's coming at a cost. And this Wheel of Fortune is coming out again. And now giving us a kind of, you know, a very non-linear state of connection instead of this beautiful organised thing here. Come on, Virgo, that's gorgeous, right? And it's also a Pisces card. So it's where the North Node is right now. We've got this kind of messy representation of it where nothing flows. The wheel doesn't turn properly. This is the second time the Wheel of Fortune has come out. And I think the combination of that with the Moon and the Tower means this is just going to keep going until you've got this lesson. Because you've got less than 2 months, I think. Is it less than 2 months or thereabouts? Until the South Node leads your sign. Like, this is great. It means a lot of the exhaustion will lift slowly, and that, you know, transfer to Leo instead. But whatever needs balancing now, because there isn't very long where the energy will support you being able to do this. And it seems like the universe has decided that this is the core situation for you to handle. Not the crisis, but the way that you respond to the crisis. Over and over again until you get the message. And that Seven of Wands there, like this is Mars and Leo, it's that courage and bravery. And if you are trained to be an independent person, if you know the flavor of Virgo that has developed in you is about making sure that you've got your shit together and everybody can see that you've got your shit together, because I don't know, maybe you don't want to be judged for not having your shit together, for example, then it makes perfect sense to me that you would be holding this position. But this is the thing that's trying to change. And so it's going to take some really big effort and, you know, to an extent, some bravery from you to open yourself up enough to be vulnerable enough to say, do you know what, I actually don't have it, and I'm fucking exhausted, and I need some help. We're creating a new foundation for the way that you see the world and the way that you see your place in it, Virgo. Not in terms of what you give, because you are, you know, incredibly service oriented, but what you allow yourself to receive. And I don't see the energy of somebody who allows themselves to receive anything here. What's really interesting about that is that you don't realize that you deprive people of the privilege of being there for you. Because I think it is a privilege. And it doesn't have to come with strings attached, and it doesn't have to come with anything other than mutual support. And it feels like the only person who would judge you for asking for help is you. Which is probably enough, right? But genuinely, if one resists the Tower, even if one resists to some extent the Wheel of Fortune, these energies just keep coming until the lesson is learned. The beatings will continue until morale improves, right? But you don't recognize where you're occluding that energy of the Ace of Wands. That which is trying to come through and show you how to do things differently and from a more creative place. The very ace that is designed to bring life force is being completely screened out by the contents of your head. You can see where it should be, but you don't know how to invite it in because you're burdened. Let's have a look at the next step for you, Virgo. What is the next step for Virgo? Well, of course it is. We have the Ace of Cups. We have the Two of Swords. We have the Page of Wands in the upright, Ten of Pentacles in the upright, lovely. And the Five of Swords. Yeah, here's the thing. Right, the Ace of Cups for me is all about the sacred relationship that we have with ourselves, because this is how we communicate with the universe. You know, when we upgrade our thinking in terms of, or our feeling, right, in terms of how we feel about ourselves, like this perfect expression of the relationship that we have with the cosmos, the way that we express it. When we take an open heart to what has eluded us, we open up the path. And this feeling that you have that the rules don't apply for you, which is to say the rules of the Ten of Cups, the rules of how that works, mutual aid, mutual assistance, you know, the interdependence, people that you can rely on. It's like I don't know if it's a low self-worth thing, Virgo, or whether you're afraid of judgment or whatever, but it's like what the universe is trying to do is crack you wide open. Not to make you humble, but to make you receive. Beatings will continue until you receive. Right? The help, the love, compassion, all that sort of stuff. It's like you won't even allow yourself to see it. Nope, not for the likes of me, thank you. But ironically, this is where the path opens up. This is where the possibilities are. But it starts with you. You'll notice that, you know, the energy of the ace is manifest potential. Never switches off. Sometimes we can see it, sometimes we can't. That's a personal thing, right? The pages are about structured change in things that we already know and recognize, and specifically here in terms of what we do. It isn't that big, like, holy shit energy of the ace. It's taking something that we know, something that we understand, and it's structuring it a little differently. It's allowing itself to go off in a different direction. To which, like, if your response to the crisis is the crisis, then this makes the most beautiful, perfect sense in terms of how you navigate out of it. It's not about dealing with the crisis in a way that you have dealt with crisis forever. It's about opening up your heart to assistance, allowing yourself to receive, showing you where you have screened out what is available to you because you decided that it wasn't for the likes of you, and to start the path forward in unpicking how on earth this ended up in your head as something that you had to do. Now, you know, we see it a lot with the service-oriented signs. So I'm thinking Cancer, I'm thinking Virgo, thinking, you know, a couple of others, where it is that mismatch. It's not hope in hell that you would tolerate your best friend or someone that you cared about struggling on quietly by themselves. You just would not fucking have it. You'd be straight in there, you'd be helping, you'd be sorting things out. And yet you don't apply that same metric to yourself. Is that a self-worth thing? Is that a I must only be of service thing? It's difficult to tell, but I see it with all the service-oriented signs. It shows its face up. So the next step is to ask for help and allow yourself to receive it. Don't think about the crisis in terms of the crisis. Think about the opportunity for shifting your thinking and becoming part of something more stable and emotionally invested in all directions. If you allow yourself to walk this path. This is really interesting, Virgo. It's really interesting. I'm going to go to the extended now. You're welcome to join me if you would like to do so. I said at the beginning, the links for Selfie and Circle are both in the description box below, as is the link to the webinars that I have available for those of you who are interested in how my brain works with particular aspects of tarot. So if any of those links are any good for you, that you know where they are, and I'd be delighted to see you in any of those places. The lesson is always adjacent to what you think it is. Always. So, I'm going to leave it there, and we're going to go and dig around a little bit deeper in the extended. So, know that I love you all very, very much, and Virgo, receive that. Please. A big Leonine slap through the internet. Really, though. Really. Take care, and I'll see you soon.